Hello, 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 and welcome to day 73, I think it is now. 73, 74, something like that. We'll see it somewhere around this video. Today, it's been on my heart to talk about difficult conversations. And I want to say the art and science of conversations, not even difficult conversations, conversations, because I feel like that's what's most needed at the moment. That's what's needed in these times, unless you've been hiding under a rock or dealing with some very difficult like life circumstances of your own. You cannot have failed to have heard the dialogue and the things that are going around, not only the world, but in the UK specifically at the moment. And I wanted to talk about the art and science of conversation because coming back to the UK and the situation that's going on in the UK at the moment, I was really heartened by the Liverpudlian mosque that extended an arm out to the people that were protesting outside the mosque. They came from a place of peace and they offered food. And watching the video of him talking about the experience and how they eventually took food, had a conversation, is at the heart of all of this. It's at the heart of us being able to take, I don't want to say control because that then has one person in power over another person, but take a harmonized look at our world. So this video is for you if you have ever grappled with the core of this topic, which ultimately in your head or outside of your mouth, the words may have come out where you think, I just don't know what to say. This is not just about race. This is not just about gender. This is not just about religion. There are other times and other life experiences, and through the life coaching element of what I do, people often grapple with this. So you could be in a situation where you're at work and you need to say something. Maybe you've got a difficult team member or a difficult situation going on with a team member and you're not sure what to say. I can't even recall or recount how many people I've coached through this, including founders, including CEOs, including execs, including team leaders. So it could be that you need to speak about someone's performance in a work capacity. It could be that you're a business owner and you are not happy with a service you've received, or you're a business owner and you need to convey something that feels a little bit tough to somebody. I remember bumping up against this when I had a really wonderful client who fell into a circumstance where they weren't able to pay for something. And it's interesting, all the advice out there that I was getting around in my circles was all around, well, take them to court, do this thing, do that thing. And of course, their solutions. But the piece that was missing for me was the understanding and the actual conversation. And in order to be able to do that, and let's face it, if you have a business, especially given the sort of, times that we've experienced over the last 4 or 5 years, you will at some point need to have a conversation with somebody to say, come on, where's my money? This doesn't matter whether they're a big corporate, whether they're an individual person or anything in between. And I certainly know, again, that in terms of some of the coaching conversations that I've had behind closed doors, I've helped people navigate this kind of with grace too. And then there's our family circumstances. Maybe you've got children, small children, teenagers, and I don't claim to be the expert in that. You might have children that you feel like you can't get through to, or you're noticing that their communication style isn't quite where you would expect it to be. And then there's, if you look at the life coaching kind of circle, health, wealth, fitness, it could be that you have to have a tough word with yourself to say that I can't carry on in this way. Or it could be a matter of health where you need to ask some important questions to yourself, to family or friends, family member or friend, to the medical professional or something else. So the art of and the science of conversations is at play everywhere, every time, not just in difficult moments and not just in those moments necessarily where we feel stuck on what to say, although that's the highlight for us. So why did I call this the art and science of conversation? I believe in a solution-focused approach. I really do. And I have been challenged in the last week or so to to remember that, if I'm honest. I too have gone through the curves of anger, relief, disbelief, dismay, and all of the many different emotions that anybody will go through on a bell curve. And from anything that's deemed good or bad or in between. And the thing that I always come back to is at some point, these different emotions actually propel us forward into the person that we are and the thing we want to do. And ultimately, I want to do something about this. I have some skills and tools that can help with this. I want to be able to help people to communicate, not even to communicate in a better way, but to communicate, because there is an art and there's a science. And by that, I mean, sometimes the art is almost being intuitive, it's being empathetic. And empathy is in my books, a really great tool to have, because it puts you in the other person's shoes, whereas sympathy keeps you on your side of the fence, looking in with your head to one side going, oh, that's so awful. And this is what has people behave in a performative way. They will reach out and ask, are you okay? And they won't stick around for the answer because they're in performance, they're in sympathy, they're in their side of the fence, and they're thinking, looking over, going, oh gosh, that must be terrible. Thank goodness I'm not them. Better just do what I'm supposed to and hop off. That doesn't serve anybody. You have empathy as a really great skill to stand in someone's shoes, so that when somebody says, are you okay? They might say yes, they might say no, they could say anything else, but you're there to be able to really support them and be with them, not because you think you have to, not because you think you should, but because you're really there to support them. When people are having their very kind of dark moments and dark times, communication is often the piece that goes first. Why? Because, and this is kind of towards the scientific bit of it, but not that I can do this justice on a very short live stream. They go inward and they get in touch with whatever is going on within them, inside them. And this can be seen in things like anxiety and depression too. Often you see it in grief. I know I too have experienced this, where you literally lose your ability to speak. I was just debating on whether to say more about that, but I won't for now. Again, there are structures, there are more kind of scientific reasons for this. So what can you do to kind of take the juice from what I'm sharing in terms of the art and the science of conversation? Well, the first and most important thing is, let's take the thing that doesn't always feel instinctive to people is sometimes when we don't know what to say, it's because we're not listening. That's the ugly truth. We're not listening. So when you come up against something that feels, whether it feels contentious, whether it feels divisive, whether it feels triggering, whether it feels difficult, perhaps the first thing to do is to pause and listen. I'm not saying don't say anything, because I don't believe in that either. I think that's really quite damaging advice. Oh, ignore them. Don't say anything. Don't get involved. Oh, be careful. You've got your reputation to uphold. Oh, you've got a business to run. I wouldn't say that if I were you. All of those things are well-meaning, but very damaging. They're damaging for you. They're damaging for the other person. And they're damaging for the people around you. So let's not go there. Listen without trying to think about what you're going to say next or how you're going to respond. Just listen. Write down some of the key words if you need to. You will hear something different. You will hear something new. If you want to instigate that conversation, ask questions as opposed to make statements. Now, in a lot of my trainings, I always come back to this piece. Anyone who's had a meeting facilitated by me, heard me speak, or even been in a training environment with me, whether it's been a corporate training environment, a business training environment, or online masterclass or anything else like that, you may have heard me, and I remember talking about this actually a few years ago at a 3-day event. You may have heard me break down the construct to a great question. It's short, it's easy. Once you've got it, you've got it. Think bums on a rugby pole, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, then maybe have me come and speak to you or your people. So once we are listening, we get to hear the things we need to hear, and it's okay to write them down, especially if it's emotive. You know, I always give this advice to people who are going for doctor's appointments and people that are escorting them, like, listen to what the doctor says, but maybe have somebody with you to write it down if you're worried about what the doctor's about to say. Maybe it's a disciplinary at work. You know, you're going to go into a disciplinary on whichever kind of side of the fence you're on there. Write things down so that you can remember the important points, not everything verbatim. Second thing, ask questions. Ask questions. And the questions should definitely be statements. If you want more information, ask questions that are far more open, that can glean information. If you need the information to be narrowed a bit, and maybe the person's in their stuff and kind of going round, maybe you need yes or no, ask the right questions that give a closed yes or no response. But making statements and couching them as questions just because of the intonation of your voice, you agree with me, don't you? That's a question, but that's a yes or no. That's not opening up and encouraging. And a conversation always goes 2 ways. That's all I'm going to say for today. I hope you are navigating these times well, however it is affecting you, whatever is coming at you, whether it's world events here in the UK, or something completely different, because there's still a lot of that going on too. Wishing you a really good weekend for those of you watching this on the Friday that I am streaming this live, and hoping that you are able to open up just one conversation today around you. That's it. Bye for now.